Hey, Pretty Girl Club. Welcome back to the Decentering Men series. So, this is going to be part two of me going inside of the mind of a pick me. And I want to talk about this subject because I believe that being male centered can actually contribute to hierarchy thinking and inferiority complexes. So, let's get into it.
If a man can tell that you have a wig on, it's a bad wig. I wear U-part wigs from time to time on very rare occasions, but it is my hair texture. So even my own man, he doesn't even know when I'm wearing a wig.
Okay, let's pause it right there because she said that her man, she didn't say husband, she said her man doesn't even know when she's wearing a wig. But I thought that YouTuber Blunt Girly was married and has a biracial husband. If you're married to someone, doesn't that mean that you live with them and they would kind of know your hair routine? They would see you like doing the braids or putting on the wig cap, or they would notice when they touch your hair, when they're kind of stroking you and kind of caressing you. Wouldn't your significant other eventually notice that you're wearing a wig, especially if they're laying next to you every night or they're seeing you put it on and take it off? So that actually is inconsistent with her talking point of being around all these millionaires and billionaires and having this wealthy biracial husband, because usually husbands and wives, they kind of know each other's routines, especially hair routines. But let's continue.
He can't tell the difference. That's how it should be. That's called a good hairstyle. If a man, a grown man, can look at you and know that you have on a wig, it's a bad hairstyle.
Do you see how she's putting pressure on her audience to have as high quality of a wig as possible? And also, this talking point of if a man can tell that it's a beauty enhancement, like a wig, then it's a bad hairstyle. That's no different than saying if you wear red lipstick, your makeup looks bad because a man can tell that it's lipstick. He can tell that that's not your natural lip color. So you can tell based on that talking point that she almost has a thing against glamour or glamorous beauty. Just because someone has on an enhancement, it doesn't cancel out their beauty. The whole purpose of an enhancement is it's supposed to draw even more attention to your feature. Like when women wear eyeshadow, everybody knows that their eyes are not naturally gold. Everybody knows that their eyes are not naturally sparkly on the lids, but it looks pretty because it's a form of glamour. So in her content, you hear her constantly speaking against glamorous forms of beauty, such as wearing some form of hair extensions, wearing a wig, wearing longer eyelashes. So she doesn't have versatile beauty herself. It kind of points to her feeling like the only way to be beautiful is if it's in your natural state, like in the most natural state possible, to the point where you're not even allowed to wear certain lashes. Here on this channel, we know that beauty is not a monolith. There are many different expressions of beauty, but you can tell that she has more of a scarcity mindset because she feels like, no, if I want to be naturally beautiful, I have to just only stick to that. I can't have the glamorous beauty as well. So you can tell that she is speaking from the perspective of someone that prefers almost like a girl next door type of beauty, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I find it interesting that she's trying to project that onto her audience as if the dark skinned black women who are following her are not allowed to wear any enhancements. And when it comes to glamour, sometimes glamour, that's just a form of self expression. So, for example, if I'm going to a gala and I want to wear an evening gown, you're telling me that I'm not allowed to wear some glamorous makeup or maybe like a wig or a ponytail or something. I'm not allowed to wear that because a man potentially would be able to tell that it's a wig. Men know that women wear wigs, weaves, and makeup. They just don't care. They just use that as a gaslighting talking point. So you can actually tell based on this content that she has more of a black male centered mentality. She has internalized the insults from black men who say things like, oh, well, you look bad with your wig on, or like if you wear lashes, that looks ugly. So you can tell from her content that she has internalized that. You can also tell that she's been listening to a lot of black men red pill content where they try to place women on a hierarchy, and they're kind of against glamour. A lot of broke, dusty men don't like glamour because they can't afford it. They can't afford to buy their girlfriend a $60 eyeshadow palette. So for Blunt Girly, who claims to have grown up around millionaires and billionaires and who claims to have a high value biracial husband, I find it interesting that she's so against glamour, seeing as her lifestyle is so glamorous, right? If you're wealthy and you and your man can afford all the makeup and you're going to all these classy settings around millionaires and billionaires, why would you have a thing against glamorous beauty, seeing as you're supposedly living a glamorous lifestyle, right? Because the only women that I know of who are against the concept of glamour in general, usually those are men who can't afford those women. They can't afford access to the glamorous women. Or it's women who feel threatened by the women who have options. Or maybe they're threatened by women of a higher socioeconomic status who can afford the sparkly eyeshadows. They can afford the fancy hair extensions. They can afford to change their wigs up every day if they want to. They can afford all the different hairstyles. So just because somebody has something on that's not natural, just because it's an enhancement, that doesn't cancel out the woman's allure. It doesn't cancel out the woman's beauty, and it also doesn't cancel the man's attraction to the woman. But do you see the hierarchy thinking here? She's saying your only option is, I guess, to maybe wear your hair natural. And there's nothing wrong with being natural, but it's like she's admitting the fact that she feels insecure with beauty enhancements, especially if they're a little bit more dramatic, where you can tell it's an enhancement. So this could be a wig. I'm assuming she probably has the same mindset about makeup as well, because you guys heard her in her last video talk about how lashes, apparently you're not allowed to wear lashes either because, that looks ratchet. And this is why I always say it's important for content creators to point fingers and name names. So anytime you hear me speak about something, for example, I will show a picture. Like if I'm throwing shade against somebody, I'll say their name. If I'm throwing shade against a certain aesthetic, I will actually put up an image of what aesthetic I think looks bad. When you have these black female content creators who just tell all their audience members what not to do, they berate their own subscribers like, you're doing it wrong. You don't look good enough. That's why the men aren't attracted to you. It's because your hair looks bad. It's like, okay, you're kind of repeating red pill talking points, but then you're also not giving examples of what to do correctly. So this is a very common cultural problem in the unambiguous black female community, where they constantly can talk about what everybody else is doing wrong. They can talk about what their community is doing wrong, but they can't tell their audience how to do it right. So it's like, okay, if women are not allowed to wear lashes, they're not allowed to wear like wigs, what should they wear? Show a picture of what they should look like, and then show a picture of what they should not look like. Because otherwise, all you're doing is contributing to their inferiority complexes even more. And then when you throw men into the mix and say that you are less beautiful because a man can tell that you have on a beauty enhancement, then that makes it even worse. Because now you're saying that beauty is defined by how effortless a man thinks you are. So if a man thinks that you're effortless, that you just woke up like this, then that means you're beautiful. But if a man can tell that you wear any form of a beauty enhancement, then you're lower on the totem pole. So do you see how your worth is centered around a man's opinion of you? So you can hear in her own talking point, she almost has kind of like this anxious attachment to having effortless beauty. It's like, it has to always look like, oh no, I didn't put on any beauty enhancements. Like, no, I didn't change up my hair with any extensions. No, I don't have on makeup. No, I don't have on any lashes. So it's like this anxious mindset of, if a man can tell that I have a beauty enhancement, then that cancels out my beauty, or it kind of puts me lower on the beauty hierarchy.
Because in order to get the ring, it requires you to be at a certain level in life. And nobody is talking about income. I'm talking about weight wise, personality wise, character wise.
Okay, so if you don't have a ring, it's because your weight, personality, and character are fucked up. So now she's tying your worth and she's tying your value to your relationship status. So it's almost as if she's implying that if you're single, there's no way it could be by choice. So there's no way that you could be single and you're skinny and pretty and have a good personality and good character. No, 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 no. You would have been married. So there's no way that you're single by choice. If you're single, it's because no one wanted you, because you don't have the proper weight, the proper personality, and the proper character. Notice how all the smoke is for the women. There's no smoke for the men. Not one word about men not being worthy of the women's time. No smoke for men not having the weight or the personality or the character to be husbands. No, no, no. It's all your fault as the woman. You just weren't skinny enough. You just weren't pretty enough. Your hair wasn't done well enough. Your makeup wasn't done well enough. Actually, you were wearing too much makeup. It was your lashes. That's why you didn't get married. That's why you're single and nobody wanted you. It's because you just weren't good enough.
You can't walk around with a bad attitude, a bad personality, unfriendly, obese, with a bad wig, and then expect men to choose you.
Okay, so she's regurgitating red pill talking points again. So do you see how she's stereotyping you? If you're single, it's because you must be a loud, ghetto, ratchet, obese woman with a bad wig. And it's like, okay, first of all, blunt girly, who's your audience? Because I'm assuming that you're not trying to attract an audience of a bunch of ratchet, obese black women who are ghetto and like with bad personalities. So if you're not even attracting that audience, who are you talking to? Who are you talking about? Who are all of these ratchet, obese women who don't have high value? Who are all these low value black women that you're talking to? I mean, usually as a content creator, you're talking to your own audience. So if your audience is filled with classy black women who are around millionaires and billionaires, as you claim that you are, with these nice biracial husbands, you wouldn't even need to be telling them this, right? Because that's not like it's your audience. It's not like your algorithm has a bunch of ratchet, obese black women. So that's my question is like, who is the core audience of this content anyway? And notice how she also says if you don't get a man, it's because you're unfriendly. So now the pressure is on the women to be even more friendly. So it's kind of encouraging even more desperation, basically, because it's like, okay, what are the standards for what makes a woman friendly in the eyes of a man or not? Are you saying what they don't walk up to the men and approach the men enough? They don't like kiss these men's asses enough? Like, what is the standard? How friendly do you have to be in order to prove yourself to this man? So do you see how it's encouraging more desperation from the women? Like, oh, if you're single, it's because you're unfriendly, you're obese, you have a bad wig. Do you see the extreme stereotyping? So that tells me more about how Blunt Girly actually stereotypes unambiguous black women than the exotical space. It's hilarious how people, they love claiming that the exotical space is the colorist, texturist, and featurist space when you got unambiguous black women saying this about themselves or about their own subscribers.
I live in a predominantly black neighborhood.
Had to pause it again right there because she reiterates that she lives in a predominantly black neighborhood. Name some predominantly black neighborhoods that are filled with millionaires and billionaires. I'd love to know.
And I see the way they look and act. It's very unpleasant.
So she's admitting that she lives around unpleasant black people who have this stereotypical ghetto aesthetic with kind of like these ratchet lashes and the ratchet wigs. Please name a neighborhood that is filled with millionaires and billionaires, and that's how they behave, and that's what they look like. What neighborhood is this? I would love to know what magical city Blunt Girly is from, because she claimed that she has a high value biracial husband. She's like a housewife. She comes from a very affluent background. I don't know what is so affluent about Oakland, California. I don't know of a lot of millionaires and billionaires that live in Oakland. What I know about Oakland is that there are more black people in Oakland, but it's more so the impoverished sector of California. If you were to compare that city to other places in California, that's actually more of the impoverished area. So just based on her own talking points, she's actually exposing the fact that she is not around millionaires. I'm sorry, I'm trying to take it seriously. She's exposing the fact that she's obviously not around black millionaires and billionaires or white people. And it's like, sis, if you're from the hood, that's fine. Where you come from does not determine your future. But I feel like there's almost this performative classiness that Blunt Girly gives off. It's almost as if she feels like she has to pretend to be from this super affluent, super perfect background in order to qualify herself in front of other black women. So do you see the hierarchy thinking there? It's almost this mindset of the only way I can be a successful content creator is if I put on this act that I'm from this rich background with millionaires and billionaires, even though I said in my own content that I'm surrounded by ratchet black people and that I'm from Oakland. But I have to pretend I'm around millionaires and billionaires and affluent people in order to make myself appear like an authority when it comes to how you should dress, how you should look, and what a man wants. And then I have to say that I have a biracial husband, this high value biracial husband. I have to say that as well so that I can prove my worth to my audience. She bragged in her community post about being around white people and millionaires and billionaires. But Oakland is known for having a lot of gang violence. They're known for having a lot of ghetto activities. So based on her own description of where she lived, no, it actually does line up with being from the black part of Oakland. Okay, so that's not where millionaires and billionaires are, sis. And also, if we're talking about black super rich people, you're talking about people like Diddy. Because when I think of some of the richest black people, those are the types of people that I tend to think about. So it's like, okay, which one is it? Are you around millionaires and billionaires, or are you around where you said you were from, which is Oakland, California? You're around a lot of black people who have this ratchet behavior. So why is it that the millionaire and billionaire thing is not lining up? Like, which one is it? If you're around millionaires and billionaires, those are gated communities. Those are areas where you can't even walk around and be loud and ratchet. They have their own security systems, they have security cameras. So, who are all these loud and ratchet people in these neighborhoods with the millionaires and billionaires?
I can honestly say, as a man, I see why they wouldn't want to date us. The lighter skinned women just aren't walking around with this mentality.
Okay, so now she admits that she feels like she is a part of an undesirable group. She says that the men don't want to date us. On the one hand, she was bragging about having such a bubbly personality and being so pretty and being around millionaires and billionaires. She's living an affluent lifestyle. But then here, she's saying, oh, actually, they wouldn't want to date us, and light skinned women have a different mindset than us. So, once again, do you see how people make MLS women their standard of dating and their standard of living? This is why I say most people want to date us or create us. And even if they don't, they're still using us as a benchmark of success, because she uses light skinned women's mindset as an example for more of the correct mindset to have.
They're more upbeat, they're more happy, they're more positive. They haven't given up on themselves. So maybe that's why they're getting chosen more.
And there you have the psychological jackpot, which is why I said that I believe that she was riding the coattails of myself as well as other women in the exotical space, because she just admitted right here that she feels like lighter skinned women are basically more confident. She feels like we are more confident because we're not bogged down by the same inferiority complexes that we see in the unambiguous community. This is also why I said I feel like Blunt Girly let the comments get to her where people were calling her the sidekick of the exoticals, or she's just a token, or she doesn't really fit in. It's not her skin color that doesn't make her fit in, it's her mindset and her own lack of confidence that caused her to not fit in over time. Because you can hear her subconscious coming out in her own content when she first started her YouTube channel.
Don't hate the game, adapt to it.
Anytime I hear a content creator talking about game, like, oh, I'm going to give you this game, or you got to learn how to play the game, adapt to this game. Okay, my question is, what is the prize to be won at this game? Because remember, games have winners and losers. Games have opposing sides. So, who is my opponent in this game? And then who am I winning? Like, what's the prize that I get in the end? So you can hear the mindset coming out right there. So she's implying that there's this game called, I guess, dating or marriage, or getting picked by a man. And your opponent is women who are perceived better than you. She specifically mentioned light-skinned women. And then the prize that you win in the end is a man.
Learn what men like and then come back to me. Take all of my tips and advice.
So she's telling these women to take her tips and advice. But my question is, why should the audience take the advice of a woman who is not willing to show this quote unquote high value biracial husband that she has? She doesn't go into detail about her relationship. In fact, the only relationships that she has not spoken against are hypogamous or 50-50 relationships, which implies that that's what she's in. She is a working woman. She's a monetized content creator, so she's technically a business owner. So my question is, what qualifies her to really give advice? Exoticals, I always tell you guys, never take advice from someone you wouldn't trade lives with. And definitely, you don't want to put content creators on a pedestal. And also, if somebody is positioning themselves as a relationship advice channel, like I said, why is it that they never show this magical high value man that they achieved? Wouldn't you be proud of it?
Black women have combative personalities.
Okay, pause. So do you see how she's doing that thing again where she's trying to say, I'm not like other blacks? Because she's saying black women have combative personalities, but Blunt Girly is an unambiguous dark-skinned black woman, as she said in her previous video. And she also brags about how her personality is feminine and classy and bubbly, and how she's so likable, she's a pleasure to be around. But then she's saying, I guess, her audience or the group that she's coming from, black women, that they have combative personalities. And it's like, okay, if Blunt Girly breaks the stereotype, why is it that other women wouldn't be able to break that stereotype? And again, who's the audience here? Like, who is she even talking to? Because I would assume that her subscribers do not have these combative personalities, right?
She's not cute. And I'm talking about, like, okay, she had acne and she was a well grown woman, right? I know the different types of acne. I know when it's acne when you've been doing drugs. I know when it's teenage acne. I know when it's genetics. And I know when it's I have not washed my face regularly acne. She had I don't wash my face acne. I know this because I have studied what dermatologists say about skin. I've studied it. I've learned anatomy. I understand like the layers of skin. I understand what causes acne. I understand hormonal acne. I am an acne expert. If you see me in person, my skin is flawless.
Okay, so let me get this straight. She's got a rich biracial husband. She comes from a background of millionaires and billionaires. And now she is also an expert on acne. So she is a full blown relationship advice person. She is a person that comes from the background you aspire to. And on top of that, she also has the same level of knowledge as dermatologists.
But you have bigger problems to worry about. In her case, it was very clear that whatever was hindering her, if she was, not receiving a good outcome from men, those were the issues she needed to work on.
Okay, so just to recap Blunt Girlie's talking points, if you are single, it is because you have a bad weight, bad personality, you are not friendly enough, and now it's also because your skin is fucked up. So, do you see the extreme stereotyping of women that are single? It's like if you're single, it's because something's wrong with you. That's that talking point. Because you didn't win the prize, you didn't win the game. You were supposed to be playing this game so you can win the prize, which is having a man. And so if you didn't win, it's because something is wrong with you. So nobody wants to date you because you're just ugly, you just have acne, and you're just fat, and you just have a bad personality. It has nothing to do with men. Oh no, it's not their fault at all. It's all the woman's fault. Even down to the pores on your skin.
Fine, keep the wigs, but wear a U part wig where your real hair is out in the front and it looks believable. Men still don't like that, but that's a start, right?
So now men don't like U part wigs. That sounds like projection. It sounds like when Blunt Girlie wears U part wigs, that her man doesn't like it. Or that men don't like that on her because it looks bad, or because maybe the man doesn't want to have to keep up with that, or the man is too dusty and now he's threatened by her desirability. So notice how she's actually projecting that onto her own followers. She exposed herself. Men don't like U part wigs. Men don't like U part wigs on you, Blunt Girlie. So that's why you're not allowed to wear the lashes. You're not allowed to wear the wigs. You're not allowed to have the long eyelashes or the glamorous makeup because it doesn't make a difference for you, or it doesn't look good on you, or you are not receiving the results that you want to have in life with those items. So that's why you are the one that's limited when it comes to things like beauty enhancements. I've never in my life heard somebody say that wearing a U-part wig completely destroyed their dating life or completely destroyed their options, or oh my god, I'm screwed now because I wore a U-part wig and men don't like it. Oh my god.
If you are experiencing negative results in your dating life, you are the problem.
And there's the psychological jackpot right there. Any problem that you have with a man, it's all your fault. His behavior, your fault. Him cheating, your fault. His abuse, your fault. His biological nature, your fault. These are the types of women that say things like, oh, he cheated on you because you just weren't sexy enough. You just weren't pretty enough. So, yeah, that's why he cheated on you with another woman. Like, I'm not surprised that she made that comment where she's like, Exoticals United, your husband is probably jacking off to Ebony Corn and I'm an Ebony. So she views women on a hierarchy. She feels like whatever bad thing happens to you in regards to a man, for example, even if you get SA'd, apparently that's your fault as well. Because whatever, she said, whatever problems you have in regards to dating, then, it's your fault. So if you go on a date and you get SA'd, oh, that was your fault. Too bad. So do you see how there's all this smoke for the women? And she hides behind calling it accountability, but then there's no smoke for the men? Yet she has the audacity to say that it's a game and imply that the prize that you win is a man? Anyway, what do you ladies think? Let me know in the comment section and I'll talk to you next time. Stay pretty, ladies.